Deuteronomy 33:29. Happy art thou, O Israel, who was like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, among the heathen that look like those heathen. And to the few akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. Profiling a video that I actually had saw this video, and then Apostle Ramlab actually sent it to me, which confirmed, yes, through the Spirit, this video indeed. So this will be part 2 of the video series that I was doing. Hold on, I don't want to say the name wrong. I don't want to say it wrong. So let me go and forget what I named it. But I'm profiling a video that was done by Cootie Merrill. He often goes in and finds these old books that tell history from the time period of the people that were there. You know, these old 300-400 year old book, 200+ year old books. He finds these old books that are on PDF that that you probably couldn't even rent from the Library of Congress unless you were a high-ranking individual or something like that within the government, because they don't want this sort of information coming out. Oh yeah, this is the Apologist proven liars again. So this will be part 2. All right, and then because the first video was based upon the book, a reading of the book Who is Esau Edom, but this falls right into right in line with that information. So this will be part 2, and then in Lord's will, part 3 will go right back to Who is Esau Edom. Okay, which was this video here. All right. So we did a video on that. Okay, and that video was called, if you hadn't seen it, part 1, Apologists Proven Liars, ... again. All right. So they want to ignore all this evidence. I want you to imagine that you have witness accounts, you have video accounts, you have how do they do what they call a person, a forensic artist, when they have a person comes in and they'll they'll do a sketch of a suspect. They'll take a witness's testimony, and then they sketch, and then the sketch actually looks just like the person who, or looks similar to the person who's committed a crime. So you have all this information, and the strangest thing is, and I'm kind of going through something like that in reality within these wicked court systems, where I have all this information. They've put me in legal limbo because they just don't want me to win. But you have all this information, all right, and that will exonerate you and free you from the accusations of a crime, or prove that you're the innocent party. And upon your arrival to court, you're informed that all the evidence that you're holding cannot be used. That is literally what Christianity is doing today when it comes to the relics, the scriptures, the history of the Hebrew Israelites being, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Collectively. Because remember, we're scattered among all people, so this isn't a black thing. We're scattered among all people. But the names that I mentioned, Salakia, being the the core group of those people. All right. So we're going to go into this. I'm going to play probably about 7 or 8 minutes of this video, and then and read from this book here, the Sephardim in the Americas. I'm holding the book right here. I have the book. All right, and I'm going to read from page 22, and we're going to talk about this word here, occidentation. All right, the definition of occidentation. Okay, that's a very important word to this video. All right, so let's go back, and we're going to go to like the 4-minute mark. And, Lord's will, this will be very informative information that you can use to combat any apologist, any so-called Christian, that everything about them is complete and total lie, and they're the ones full of hate. It is beyond hateful to label people something that they're not, especially a color, especially when you understand what black actually means, and brainwash and destroy people so much to where they accept such a darkened and wicked title upon themselves. All right, even the fact that they used, let's get that into. All right, even though they've accepted this wicked, corruptible name, and then they've taken this word, this J word, and they've hijacked. Remember, the J word replaces Israelite. And as I said in the first video, it was the 12 tribes of Israel, not the 12 tribes of Jewish. All right. And so they used this J word and hijacked the culture of the Israelites and then labeled them black. So that when you look at this J word, you're thinking of, Bibi Milkowski, also known as Netanyahu. All right. And then you take this B word, this black thing, and you're looking at these people as Africans. All right. Both are wrong. All right. That was a difference between a so-called Negro and a so-called African. All right. The two different bloodlines, two different races of people. The only thing that they had in common is that they both were melanated, and in some cases their hair was similar. Right, because some Negroes do have wavy or softer pattern of hair, but the average Negro has woolly hair, just like the average so-called African. So let's go to the Zondovan's dictionary before we go any further. And Zondovan's dictionary, and we'll just click on it, and that's the definition of ham. Let's adjust the camera to where you can read it, and it reads: Ham, perhaps hot, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor, meaning the father of, the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, which so-called white people tried to whitewash those Hamites and separate them from the rest of Africa, as if all the people in Africa are just not a people at all. They're just this dark race that popped out of nowhere. No, the people in Africa, all of the people in Africa outside of the Israelites that are mixed upon them, are mixed among them, and what other heathens are mixed among them. But the actual inhabitants of Africa come from Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, which were Put, Canaan, Mizraim, and the other one escapes me right now. But those are the 4 sons of Ham. So they indeed were the dark races, but not the Negroes. In the Young's Dictionary Bible, it says, but not the Negroid races. And who were the Negroid races? The 12 tribes of Israel. Because they were melanated, swarthy people too. Remember, that's another thing too. They replaced the word swarthy with black. All right. What used to be swarthy, all right, or tawny, became black. Okay. So let's go back to this video, and we're gonna go about to the 4-minute mark and let it start playing from there. And I'll try not to interject too much, but just let them speak. Let the information, let you read the information for yourself written in this book. And watch, mark my words, when this video is put up, you will not see the title of this book. YouTube will use some other image purposely, all right? That's a tactic that they do, especially I've noticed that with my videos, because I like to put up stuff like this that destroys the narrative that they have. And often they'll use a commercial image, they'll use any image but this as the thumbnail for the video. All right? That's done purposely, not by accident.
Jews and blacks in the early modern world, Jonathan Scorch. I'm going to read here. It says, there are some medieval Jewish expressions to the effect that Jews were seen in Europe as black and ugly. Keep it in mind that blackness or whiteness is always...
Remember, I've broken down the definition of black and ugly and unattractive is one of the definitions. That's why they call you that.
Is a relative matter. Indeed, the metaphysical reading one text gave to this color scheme reflects a polemical usage. Such usages, such physical theories acquired, perhaps always had. The 13th century text of polemics by R. Joseph and Nathan Official and the Sephardim Yashan, a guide for Jews disputing Christians, probably written in early 14th century German lands, contain nearly identical answers to charges of Jewish ugliness and blackness.
Mm-hmm.
All right? The heretics example Christians acts and say, why are majority of Gentiles, example Christians, white and attractive, while the majority of Jews are black and ugly?
So this is going back to that definition, the Occidental or Occidentation of the Sephardim. All right, they chose to westernize them, and this is all after the fall. All this happens after the fall of Spain, Portugal, right? Because that was the last real stronghold of the Israelites. Okay, and at that point, after that, because that happened in 1492. Christopher Columbus sailed that year, went to West Africa. I mean, he went to the he didn't go to West Africa yet. He went to the Americas, and they started the slavery of the Northern Kingdom. And basically the brutal colonization and slavery of the Northern Kingdom started with them first, so-called natives and Latinos. All right, then 100 years later, they began going into West Africa. All right. And then that part of this, which fulfilled the scripture of Jeremiah 50 and 33. That matter of fact, let me just read it. It's funny. You open this thing up, it's like a mechanic that opens up an engine in a car. You start trying to edify, and then just more and more information comes out, and even leads you away from your original, teaching, a lesson that you were doing. It just gets deeper. There's like layers of an onion. But this is Jeremiah 50 and 33. And it reads, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast and refused to let them go. And so that fits exactly what I just said, because they had been apart from each other for thousands of years. And then when they came back together, was in slavery, and they didn't even, for the most part, even know who each other was. The Northern and Southern Kingdom had been apart for, damn near 2,000 years at the time of their unification in slavery. All right. Sometimes being on the same slave ships during the transatlantic slave trade in some cases. And there's evidence and receipts of that.
All right, you hear that? Reply to them that it is comparable to fruit. When it begins to blossom, it is white. After it is finished, then it turns black, as with sloes and plums. And every fruit that is red to begin with, when it is done, is white, as with apples and pears or apricots. And this is testimony for Israel that they are pure of menstrual blood. And there is here. All right, so that's their little explanation. So again, we're just reading references from these times, what they're saying. Continue here, it says, early modern non-Jews in Western Europe also appeared to be confused or ambivalent about the color status of Jews. The English Sir William Barrington visited one of the Sephardic synagogues in Amsterdam in 1635 and wrote that the Jewish men were most black and
Wow.
insatiably given unto women.
Let's just jump on the bandwagon. The truth wagon, we should call it. This is Lamentations 4 and 8. Apologist. Their visage, meaning when you look at them, that's what visage mean. When you're looking upon their faces, their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Why? Because they're called Negroes. They're called black. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It has become like a stick.
Women, insatiably. I have trouble with that word. In 1643, Isaac de la Pereire, sounds like Pereira, contended that once the Jews convert to Christianity, they will no longer have this dark complexion. So this is
So the Occidental, basically, they were converted. They were being converted. Remember the Morenos, the Moriscos, right? Which when you look that up in the etymology online, it tells you that a Moreno and a Moor was a Jew, was a Christian or a Jew. All right, so they were forced they were just same as John Hyrcanus forced the Edomites to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, which they started calling, and they started using that J word. That that's when when you had your section of humanity became Jewish, which were Idumeans, which were Edomites, so-called white people today, during the time of John Hyrcanus, all right, and the Maccabees, as they were, because he was toward the end of their rule, all right. You had the reverse of that when Spain and Portugal fell. These Moors, these Morenos, Moriscos, all right, they became secret follow, and I hate to use that J word, but Judeans, all right, and they became Christians outwardly, but they worshiped the law, statutes, and commandments in secret, just to stay alive, just to survive the new system of government that was being set up by Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and they spread all over Europe, okay, and came to the Americas and began to set up businesses and things in America. Unfortunately, a lot of them were race traders, and they actually helped set up businesses that supported slavery. These were your Sephardim as well. All right, so there was a difference between the Ashkenazi and the Sephardim, and basically the same way that they hijacked, the Israelite heritage and changed it to this J word. The Ashkenazi hijacked the Sephardim and started claiming that they were. All right, they came and set on there. So basically, this was a transition from so-called blackness to so-called whiteness. That's what's happening here. All right, and then the Lord sent the plagues, which then thinned out, the Israelites, and Esau Edom, the so-called white man, took over all these places in Europe where the Israelites were once ruling after the fall of Rome.
The metaphor, almost like how do you say that? Like a metaphor, right? And so is this what we see when we're looking at census? When they're talking about dark and black, are they just talking about maybe because they're not Christians or seen civilized in the eyes of the census taker? But it's deep. Either way, we know so-called Jews of Spain and Portugal were very dark. We got the actual numerous references on other sources already, past videos.
And he's right. You can check out, Kudimero's videos. I've used a lot of the sources that he's used. All right, so there are multiple sources of information proving this. All right, what he just said.
We know what the Moors look like, of course, right? I mean, or are we saying there that the Moors are white now, right? Or they're still so-called black, right? Moors are still so-called black, right? Okay. So a lot of these so-called Sephardic Jews are Moors. All right, so
indeed,
it's interesting how they say. So if
you learn that just from looking up the definitions. All right, so let's speed this up. I wanted to play more of that. You can read how it says, "The very rich merchant, a big black, fierce, stern man." All right, he's talking about a Jew, So what happened to them? They're not called that anymore. But let's go to here.
Walnut, man. You might get that olive hue like the new Negroes of the coast of Guinea. All right. As late as 1753, during the debate in England over that year's Jewish Naturalization Act, one polemicist suggested that anyone who wanted to look Jewish, all right, should rub herself with walnut husk to fix such an indelible hue and make you complete olive beauties with a lively complexion like that of the new Negro from the coast of Guinea. All right?
Wow.
Boom. You want to look Jewish, you got to grab some walnut, man. Paint yourself like a walnut.
And so inventing Jewish whiteness, part 1. That's what's going on. All right? And so, there was a transition, the Occidental, from the ancient, from Asia to the Western way of life. That's what that definition of matter of fact, Occidentation definition. Occidental is an adjective that means relating to characteristics of Western world or the West opposed to the East. It can be used to describe objects from the West. The term from geological divisions that mirrored the cultural divide between Greek and East and the Latin West, the political divide between Western and Eastern Roman empires. All right. Originally Occident referred to Western Europe or Western Roman Empire. In modern times, it usually refers to some portion of Europe and North America in distinct from Asia. The opposite of Occident is Orient. So the Jews left the East, the Orient, dark, and they came to the West and became pale. That's basically what is happening here. Okay?
Walnut, man. You might get that olive hue like the new Negroes of the coast of Guinea. All right. Shout out to the person who sent me this reference. I believe it was on Instagram. I forget the name, but he knows who he is. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for sharing this with all of us. And I found the book, I just took out this part right here real quick. Yeah. Lady Maria Nugent visiting an 1803 theater performance in Jamaica's Spanish Town explicitly separated Jews and whites in her depiction of the audience. Members who were all of colors and descriptions, blacks, browns, Jews, and whites. So she said, Jews over here, whites over there. Yeah, in Jamaica. There's also a vulgar error that the Jews are all black, for this is only true of the Portuguese ones, who marrying always among one another beget children like themselves, and consequently the swartiness, all right, the swartiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race. All right, swarty. Even in the northern regions, even in the cold places, all right, swarty.
So you can't get, this information is just too condemning to the fact that what the Hebrew Israelites is saying is true, and that what vocab Malone and the Apologist and the Jewish rabbis, what they're saying is a complete lie and falsehood. These people have completely hijacked the culture of the Israelites. And remember, they replaced the word Israel or Israelites in a lot of cases with Jewish, Jew, or Israeli. All right, they're not one and the same. The Jewish people were the converts from the time of John Hyrcanus, and then the second time from the time of Kagan Bullen, from the Khazars. All right, being Jewish and being an Israelite are not the same thing. All right, this is from page 22 of the Sephardim in Americas. All right. The Occidentation of the Sephardic phenomenon. The distinctive characteristics of Sephardic life in Attalus were transferred to Christian environment with the unfolding of Christian Iberia. This unfolding is known as the Reconquista, or Christendom reconquest of the peninsula. Why did they have to reconquest? All right, I should highlight that in this book. I think I will. But see, the reconquest of the peninsula, in retrospect, all right, in the may be said to have begun in 722. What happened in the 7th century? Visigothic nobleman named Paleo successfully skirmished with the Muslims near the village of Convegdaga. What happened during that time? Kagan Bullen around that same time converted a huge group, humanity, of the Khazar. And you see the 13th tribe? I didn't even notice that. Wow, man, you can't make this up. The 13th tribe is connected to this book. Man, we call halal Yahweh Shemam Shai. The Kagan Bullen converted a huge number of his people, all right, to Judaism. That's that occidental definition. And I have this book, and beautiful brother blessed me with this book, the Brother Zahar. All right, but brand new, they want $149 for this book. You see, people don't even have $149 to pay their damn phone bill, let alone a book. So, hey, we're doing major damage to Esau Edom here. And in this book, it also tells you this, that this is in the on the opening of the book, how they have on the flap, I forget what they call it, but it's telling you what the book is about. Let me read this real quick. It says, in the year 1992, the observance of Columbus quincentenary marked a special moment in history of the American Jewish experience. For the brief historical spotlight was able to shine upon the group of American Jews whose ancestry left Spain about the same time Christopher Columbus. Those are the Sephardim, the actual Negroes, the black Jews that you've been hearing about this whole video. All right. It says, the same group of American Jews, Sephardim Jews, shed tears for nearly 20,000 Spanish Jews who were expelled in 1492 from the country, which had lived in a century. The Sephardim in Americas is the first collective effort to interpret the long journey from Spain to the Western Hemisphere by the grandchildren of the Spanish expulsion, which were called Huguenots. All right? You look up the history of the Huguenots. They would call themselves Huguenots to avoid persecution. So Sephardim, who identified themselves according to their prayer rituals, whose name comes from the biblical destination for Spain, were significant group of Jewish immigrants. See, they weren't Jewish, they were Israelites. You see how they replay, how they hijack. That's the hijack. How you will hear Cootie Merrill say, dodge the hijack. All right? But when you read down, it tells you in the years between 1881 and 1924, the great period of Eastern European Jewish migration. Now, these are your Jewish, your converts. All right? They're the only ones that should be called Jewish. You shouldn't remember, they hijacked the word Israelite or Israel for that J word. Okay? It says in 1881 to 1924, the great period of the East European Jewish immigration to the United States, the second lesser known group of immigrants left the shores of Europe and Asia to find a home in America, spoke Judeo, Spanish, Greek, or Arabic, that's your Yiddish, also claimed Sephardic heritage. They came over here and claimed the heritage of the Sephardics and sit on it and control everything now. That's your APAC, your ADL. These are not the same Sephardic Jewish people or Sephardic Israelites, all right, that left Portugal and Spain when it was conquered. All right, so that will be part 2. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Abashai Bahasham Rakah Kodash Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.